Michael. Welcome to Linear Rock.
Hello. We're having a nice day, everyone, I hope.
Yes. It's very warm in here, and I'm sure that in Tenerife is even warmer for you. So
it's beginning to get dark now. It's kind of gray sky, but it's okay. It's okay. It could be colder or anything. It's nice enough. So
Great.
I can sit here with a short shirt at least.
Okay, great. So you're there smoking, relaxing, and we're here presenting, a real masterpiece, a record which is absolutely impressive, and everybody is already loving it. It's Album of the Week here at Linear Rock, so we're very proud to have you this week. Actually, The Force of Destiny finally won the wildest dream for the diehard fans is here, and this is also the coronation of the Pumpkins United journey, even for the band. Helloween is finally back in its full historical lineup of the Magnificent Seven, I must say. You were in the studio together after a very successful tour. Brand new album on Nuclear Blast, epic masterpiece, as I said, eponymous by no coincidence, I guess. Having a self-titled record now puts the attention on the fact that this is definitely like a new beginning for Helloween. And the opening track, Out for the Glory, which you composed, is a big statement itself as well. Like, saying we are the undisputed kings of power metal, who take, it's going to take no prisoner. Is it actually done on purpose, that the record is self-titled and that track is the opening track?
That's the theme of the album, is about an emperor. I mean, the thing is, there's like a hardworking man. He comes back home at night and he sits down on his sofa, he takes a beer and he falls asleep, right? And then he dreams he's the emperor, right? And then he doesn't want to stop that dream because it's so nice. That's where it's said in the lyrics, like, I don't want to wake up, it's such a nice dream. But then there's a servant with a bell and he's waking him up. And he says, like, there's the day at the races, for the emperor, right? And your people are awaiting you eagerly. Now you got to get up, and he is the emperor. That's what it's about in the Out for the Glory, but naturally it's a glorious title.
Yeah. Yes. And was it more exciting to be back on stage all together as Pumpkins United, or, in the studio all together was even better and more exciting? There's a lot of enthusiasm around this release. The record company is so proud, the fans are getting wild, and the band is actually happy. We see, that you are really digging what you're doing. So was it like more exciting even, to be back composing together?
It was a lot of hard work because we took almost 2 months in doing what is called an album pre-production.
Yeah.
And for that, we met in Hamburg in that, it's called Home Studio, but it's the same Chateau de Pape studio where we did the Master of the Rings and other albums afterwards. It's the same studio, but it has a different owner now, and so it's been renamed. We spent a great deal of time there every day to arrange, look at details of tracks, and to hone the compositions, to make everything better. We were looking for the right grooves, for arrangements, tempo, and everything, right? And that was kind of hard work, actually, but like everybody was there. Then later, for the actual final recordings of this album, everybody went separate. No? So the Marcus was recording in one particular studio with the Dennis Ward, and Kai Hansen was recording with somebody in a studio in Hamburg, and Charlie Bauerfeind was recording the Sasha, and then he took all the data on his computer system and went here to Tenerife, where we did our guitar parts. And the markets, he would also send some extra bass parts afterwards that he recorded himself. The Danny was recording the drums on a 24-track analog machine at that home studio after we had done the scratch tracks and everything, so everybody had to familiarize oneself with each track at least once. And so on those fixed sessions that we worked out there in the pre-production time, the Danny would set his final drums on analog tape. The other stuff was recorded digital, but then all that data, when it was finished, was sent to the Ronald Trent at the Valhalla Studios in New York. And his studio is like 100% analog. So whatever we recorded would be reconverted to analog. And then he would do the final mix and the final mastering, and that then is being put into digital form again, like high resolution. So if you're going to the streaming services and you have like the option to select the high resolution sound, you can hear like almost all the quality of it. Or if you get yourself a CD, or if you get yourself a vinyl album, then you can put it on your record player with maybe a tube stereo amp if you want to, and that would possibly be the best sounding thing that you can possibly have.
But did you manage to record separately because of COVID, or it was actually already planned like this?
No, we do that regularly. All the last few albums we have done is that. Because, you know, if you're recording everything with everyone present, you know, where's your private life? No? Yeah. And the thing is, you have a lot of work with all these things. You have to go into detail, and there's actually no need, you know. If, for instance, the bass player is recording all his stuff, then nobody needs to sit there. Actually, we record the bass after the guitars because of tuning things, you know. Like if you record the bass first, you can have tuning discrepancies, and then it's kind of difficult to put the guitars onto a bass that's slightly tuned different. So we used to do things in the beginnings. Then we were at the studio, everybody was there, everybody was getting drunk. But it's like this, it's taking lots of time, and actually, so, you know, you got to see it like this. While the Kai Hansen is recording his guitars, the Sasha is recording his at the same time with different guys. And then the data is being put together. So that's like a lot more effective than if you were there, you know, with 7 guys all waiting for what the one guy is doing. You know, that's taking forever. But
did you manage like this also the compositions of the songs? I mean, sharing, you know, files, or actually you met, you know, you did. Okay.
Mid of April, we met at a hotel in Hamburg, and everybody brought the demos that he had conceived at home and this in his home studio, right?
But was it
these demos? They usually have quite a good quality already. I mean, it almost sounds like an album production, so you can imagine how the final thing would be. It's just that each and every one would usually sing on one's own tracks, right? Except for the Sasha, he actually got Michael Kiske in Berlin to, you know, record some of the original Michael Kiske vocals for his tracks.
And did you approach, you know, the composition with no competition at all? Or sometimes, you know, it's held to have some good competition. I mean, have you contributed in equal parts, you know, to please everyone? Or the main concern was actually, you know, just to make the best, the purest Helloween album, no matter who did what?
Yes, first of all, but then there is that thing. I was sitting here at the same very spot with the computer system, trying to make the best possible demos, trying to find the best ideas and inspiration, because everyone certainly was aware, you know, that the other alpha animal composers in the band would certainly try to do the very best that they can, right? Yeah. But that's more of an incentive and an actual encouragement than a challenge. It's more like, you enjoy that this is going on because you're having high expectations of what the other guy will possibly come up with, and then you hope that you don't have the same ideas. That you're not repetitive when it comes to it. But so we met in mid of April and we exchanged all the demos and we played it to each other.
Can we say that the tour was like a bit of a hairlock to make the record happen? I mean, like a phase one, to restudy and re-smell each other again. And maybe without the tour, this album would have never happened?
Exactly, not in that way, but after the biblical proportions that the whole thing was taking on. I mean, we were playing the Wacken Festival as a headliner, then later on there was the Rock in Rio appearance with, 200, 300,000 people, and you can watch all that on YouTube. But, with that impact that you have of yourself and that feeling of success and magic in between the fans and how everything happened in a big, impressive way, then you have a different outlook on a possible album production. So when record company management and fans and whatever came up and said, hey guys, that was good, now you got to do an album possibly, right? I mean, we were actually thinking, yes, and we could. That would be fun. This could be great. This could be, really something for, the end of everything. And we could prove what we are capable of, right? Yeah. And so that's all a super great thing. And I don't think it would have been the same without that big success beforehand. That surely is because of the reaction of the crowd, of the fans, and the interaction and everything, to make you sure of who you are, and then you can get into those things quite a different way, and a lot more positive.
And going even more back, than that, even before the tour, if you had to identify a moment which was the spark, the trigger of this Helloween reunion, what is it, and when exactly it happened?
Well, the Kai Hansen had always proposed and said, if we don't ever do anything in the future, we must be so stupid. I'm just trying to talk to the Michael Kiske if we can talk him into this eventually somehow. I hope he says yes, and then we can do it someday. That's what he always said. And then the Marcus and me, we were always like, yeah, but we have to find a point in time where all this could be done together. So far back then, we had different managements, we had different schedules. He was going on with the Gamma Ray, we were doing our stuff. Then when they did Unisonic, suddenly we were all under the same management because all these people were involved in the same thing. Then it was extremely important that the Michael and me would have a talk, which we had at the Metal Fest in France. And we had a good feel and all was forgiven right on the spot very quickly, actually. And I like when things can be done so efficiently, because we used to be the best friends in the past, and there we are after decades. And it's kind of like, let's talk another time when you're not so drunk. And so we went on the Skype and had a talk for hours about God and the world and whatever. And then that's how it happened, It was the most necessary thing that everybody gets to meet, that Michael Kiske gets to meet the Andi Deris. They spent weeks here on Tenerife, and they got best friends within a short time, almost like a married couple. And the whole thing came about because Deris actually said during a band meeting after the God-Given Right tour, so, why not ask the Kai Hansen and the Michael Kiske if we want to do this all together? It's just the best thing for us and for the fans. And that's been that critical point in time where it happened.
And about the record, again, did you look for an evolution to redefine, power metal standards, or, some nostalgia was the key word in your intentions? There was some kind of plan? I mean, how did everyone bring to the table their own personal experience of the last, let's say, 20, 25 years at the service, of a project which is so very well defined and so liked by the people?
Yeah, but I would think that happens by itself. So for nostalgia, yes, but Helloween and the melodies that we have, that is nostalgia already in itself, right? I think that's the way we are putting across our melodies that are like anthemic and warm and impressive, right? That's already nostalgia in itself. I mean, relating to, hit songs from the 60s and the 70s, that's like the stuff we are influenced with. I mean, at least the older guys in the band, and we are just purporting what we witnessed in the 60s, 70s on the radio and the hits that were there, that you're going, yeah, we want to do something like this when we grow up. And I mean, I've always been that huge Beatles fan, and we were fans of the sweet and the teeny rock bands in Europe by that time, like Hello or Mud or Slade. And then there was Queen, we just wanted to be like them eventually someday and do what we can, but, having our own identity. So that's the underlying theme of everything. When you're talking about Helloween, you're talking about romanticism and anthemic melodies and that. Sure.
But, are the two Keeper albums, masterpieces that even Helloween still look up at, as a standard of metal to this day? I mean, did you keep that in mind when you were in the studio? That, that was a very magical moment for the band. So was that a standard you were looking at?
I don't think so. I mean, we were doing that back then because we could. And so there was something that you could be proud of, and this is something that we were capable of by that time, and we already tried as good as we could, and we spent a lot of time. So nowadays we're all older, more experienced, and that doesn't usually mean that you lose your talent for melodies or arranging things, right? I mean, you would have to assume that, in fact, it would be getting better rather. If you're like, a composer and you know what you can do and you have your self-assuredness, from before, that you go like, okay, we did this and today we're even more capable. And this is just a matter, to find the right moment in time to extract it off the realms of magic and heavens and where the violins are hanging, right? To, to receive that and put it into a form on your computer system, record it, do the guitars, do the vocals, and arrange all the stuff into one impressive bit, right? And that's what everyone tried. So I think that just coming along natural, and naturally we are proud of whatever we did back then. The Keeper 1 is amazing, the Keeper 2 is amazing. And then we have all these possibilities nowadays. Back then, there was no way of sitting down at a computer working out everything in details already. Back then, we had tape recordings that we would use to memorize what we would have to play, and then everybody had to have it in his head to what was being played, these parts, and whenever you have to do it, you had to have it at the ready, right then when you were going to the studio. And then there was a producer and you were recording everything bit by bit. And that was probably the first point where you get to hear it in such a quality and density of the studio equipment with all these expensive sounds and effects that you didn't have at home if you didn't want to spend like tens of thousands on equipment, that you would have in a studio that someone owns. He would have at least, values there for at least €1 million or 2 million euros. Like if you have a piano, if you have a tape machine, if you have a mixing desk, if you have an echo machine, if you have a reverb plate, right? I mean, that's all stuff that was incredibly expensive. And nowadays you have a computer, you have a Mac where you have a Logic or a Pro Tools system, and then you have all that stuff in there. I mean, it's not exactly cheap, but you have the possibilities to do whatever you wish. And so then that's the situation of nowadays in comparison to back then. It was extremely adventurous, and so many things could have gone wrong, but that was the magic, that you were there doing this, and you were experiencing it right then when it happened. And then, we always asked the producers back then, please give me a cassette tape so I can listen to that on my Walkman on the hotel room later on, And you were listening and dreaming. You were like, oh, if this will have the choirs in the end, but that's where it was. And you had to be patient. Nowadays, you go like, okay, I want to hear what this sounds like 2 steps lower. Then you work it a little bit, and then that's what it sounds like 2 tones lower or 2 tones higher or what.
The most important thing is that you didn't lose the magic. That's the most important thing. And about this, so you told us that everybody was trying to give the best, in the studio. But who was the most perfectionist? And who's the laziest one? And who's the one that you personally find, they changed the most through the years about your friends in the band?
No, well, everybody changed. But the weird thing is everyone assumed qualities or shortcomings of the other guys, because now we know each other so intimately and so well, and it's always possible that you receive something of the other guy that you make your own. And then sometimes it's really funny to watch, because then someone else would say those things that you would have said 30 years before. Kind of like, that's not possible. What took place here? What happened here? It's because you unify in a certain sense, right? I mean, you are still being the separate persons that you are, but you're so close with all this business. And I mean, it's like that impact the whole thing has on you that you're living through together, right? You have the same kind of stress traveling. You have the same impacts when it comes to an amazing show somewhere where the magic is leaping over, and you witness it being on stage with the fans, with the reactions, with the first 3-5 rows breaking into tears because they can't hold on to themselves because of what they witness.
Yeah,
this is the stuff, and lazy. Everybody is lazy at a certain point, but we have a few perfectionists, and let's keep it at that.
Okay. And about the lead vocals, sharing lead vocals and guitar solos, what criteria did you use, to choose who sang what and who had to play, the solo? How did the dynamics change within the band? Maybe were the producer, Dennis and Charlie, like the moderators, there, to give a direction?
Yes, very much. But I mean, basically, you had that intuition when the respective guys were doing their tracks. You have a premonition of what somebody could possibly sing and how. So it's like for the Out for the Glory, for instance, in the bridge, there would have been the Deris singing kind of, but the Michael had asked me if he can maybe make this as some kind of feature track where mainly he would maybe sing everything, and then the Kai Hansen would do the Iron Minions. And that's fine, So I would have planned the Deris there on the bridge, but so it's super the way it is. And we had a few suggestions by the Dennis Ward, yes, or by the Charlie as well, where everybody was thinking to optimize whatever was there. But I can tell you that the basic ideas of who would sing what, that kind of is the way it was always planned right from the start.
And which was the hardest song to work to this time? Maybe Skyfall, which is the longest track, or maybe something else?
It was taking some time because we met in mid of April for comparing the demos. By then, the Skyfall didn't exist yet. It took the Kai Hansen till November, till he had finished, and then he was presenting it in that studio. And then also, the arrangement was made, and everybody had to familiarize oneself with that, and then we did that video.
Yeah.
And stuff. That's how it came about. We had all the tracks that you hear on the album, except for the Skyfall that came in November.
Okay, so it was quick. It was the last one to come, pretty much. Okay, and which of your previous records is this Helloween closest to in the spirit?
Probably the Keeper albums, but you also have so many Deris tracks on that, that ooze his way of composing and personality. So I can't say it's maybe a mix of the time of the O's, the Keeper of the Seven Keys records or something. Really, I don't know. And then the God-given right always reminded me kind of the Keeper one sound-wise, because it was sounding so warm and analog and stuff, and because the songwriting was so easy and accessible and clear. So it must be a mix of those four things, but whatever,
Yeah. And I read that for the recording, you used the original drum kit of the original drummer, Ingo. So he's present in the spirit, and that's a great thing. Who had the idea to do that? And was Danny actually comfortable using that?
Yeah, from what I read, it was his idea, kind of. So that's what he said in an interview I read, because up till recently, I wasn't exactly sure how that came about. It's just, it's been done that way, and then you never ask, and whose idea was it? I didn't ask at least. I was like, okay, he's taking the drums. And it's actually the drum set from the Keeper 2, which is kind of like mahogany wood color, and it was put in that supposed spot where the Ingo was recording the Chameleon record in that studio, but he had a white drum kit there. It was a white that was eventually sold, and then we took the Keeper 2 drum set from his flatmate back then, who had the keys for the storage room, and he knew where it was. And so then it was taken from there. It was put into a good state of being playable, because it's been lying around for 20 years or more, right?
Yeah.
And then it was recorded. Yes, I guess it was his own idea.
And about the cover artwork, which is by the great Eliran Kantor from Berlin, and it looks very familiar as well. There are a lot of things that, about the past, covers and so on. That means that even the visual impact had to be, pure Helloween.
Yeah, and it's that landscape cover even, because he came up with the regular, and there was the Keeper and the clock, and then the Deris said, yeah, but I would like to have the magic rings somewhere.
Okay.
And we would like to have the Flying V spaceship from the Skyfall there somewhere in the sky. And somebody said, oh, but then the horn blower of the Waltz of Jericho needs to be on there as well. I was told there's even the Doctor's theme hidden on there somewhere, but I didn't find him yet.
Oh, okay. And about finding things, there's, this Crack the Riddle lottery opportunity for the next tour with a fan winning tickets and a meet and greet in each city you visit, which is absolutely fantastic. How was this approach, and is it still exciting for you, to meet your diehard fans closely after so many years?
Sure, totally. I mean, we just got to see what will be the situation next year. I mean, we have published tour dates that I hope will happen, will come to pass. But what can anybody say at this point in time, and in times of insecurity, right? But I certainly hope for the best. And I think what's also important, whether one likes it or not, it doesn't hurt, to hope and pray. And maybe also think about what God can possibly play in that whole thing. No, people can go like, oh, okay, no, he's coming with that now. But that's what I say. It's kind of important also to mention.
Next Italian show is confirmed on April 11, 2022 in Milano, Lorenzini district. What can we expect, from that show and from the next tour? With Pumpkins United, you really raised the bar a lot. So there are big expectations. Can you give us any anticipation about the next tour, the next show?
Yeah, well, I just hope everything comes to pass. I mean, first, we have to see what happens until then. But as you said, those are the dates. And then under which circumstances, naturally, I hope the best possible unrestricted circumstances will be possible. For the time being, who can really say what's going on, right?
Sure. Very last thing, if you could turn back time, would you do the reunion maybe before, or this was the perfect timing for many reasons? And what happens next? The feeling is that there is no going back. That is going to be the definitive Helloween lineup from now on. Is this exactly like that? Does wisdom help?
Yeah, that's the plan.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. Yeah. We will try to keep this the way it is, and we will try to keep going as far as we can to whatever measures have to be taken or what possibilities will arise, or so we will try to do as good as we can, naturally. And yeah, so there wouldn't have been a better point in time as before everyone was busy with different projects. We had different management and whatever. So it just came as if by magic, as if led by divine planning or something like that. That's at least the way it feels sometimes. Yeah. And I'm not trying to make ourselves sound here super extra special because of it or whatever, but this is just something that we wouldn't have imagined beforehand as this. And then it wasn't so hard. So it just went on, and that usually only happens, if everything is set to be that way. Otherwise, you can face horrible difficulties. And none of that took place.
And do you think that wisdom helped? I mean, at a mature age, not to fall back into the same mistakes over and over. There's any unwritten laws that, everybody now, follow?
Yeah, I think everybody is appreciating what's going on, what's happening, and is valuing it a different way than back then. But we went into vicious cycles back then that was also not explainable how that would happen. It was just like a connection of bad circumstances. Yeah. And that makes people treat each other so bad, which we wouldn't like, which we wouldn't be able to explain how that actually happened. So right now it's an appreciative thing of magic, and everybody sees what it's all about, what things can be like if you act towards that direction, if you're just behaving and if you just value each other a lot more, right? And this is what's happening then, something like this. And that's pretty obvious. I mean, one can only learn from that, right? I would guess.
Okay, Michael. So thanks very much for your time for this interview. Can't wait to see Helloween back on stage sometime soon, actually, next April or maybe before. Who knows? Of course, I'll be participating to the lottery and I hope I'll win. So thanks very much. Thanks very much. Now we're going to see the Fear of the Fallen video. Do you want to introduce it for us?
Yes, so this is the Michael Weikath of Helloween, as you have seen, and this is the Fear of the Fallen, another nice animated video. Enjoy.
Grazie. Ciao, Michael. Thanks so much. Ciao, ciao.